They were thinking about just shutting the doors and
Yeah,
just closing up.
that's my memory.
But I think Gerald and the board said no, we're not the Titanic. So when I came in 2016, Gerald Goss, then chairman, I had worked with him prior. I knew him from other work, but he said, "Hey, we're thinking of doing a leadership change." I was familiar with ISOA because when I was with Flora, I was on the board of directors with ISOA, so I knew the kind of the organization. But then a few years had passed, and so he called me and said, "Hey, thinking of doing a leadership change here. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, maybe. I'm working somewhere else at the time." Anyway, he calls a couple weeks later, said, "Okay, we're having a board meeting today. If you say yes, you're in as president, right?" So I said, "Okay, let me call my boss at the time." And all right, so I joined in August of 2016, and had no staff, but little. I had an accountant. That was it. Pam was our accountant. But so we really couldn't do it. Couldn't send an email out. So I
Yeah.
brought in a couple of people, and I basically told the board at the time. I don't. That's before you were on the board, I
Yes.
think. I said, "I need your help to be able to execute the summit and then whatever else we wanted," because they were the only thing they were doing at the time was just the annual summit with a couple small meetings throughout the year. But so we did. The board stepped up. I had all hands on deck, as I would say from Navy time, and started building it. And so over the next few years after that, started bringing in some staff so we could do more events. And then we had an awards program the next spring, and then our first overseas conference was in 2018 in Dubai, and that was very successful. So this is all kind of leading up to the Ukraine war, the Russians invading Ukraine. We had a conference in Stuttgart, Germany, in April of 2022, so just right after the invasion. But it had been planned to be a EUCOM and AFRICOM focused conference. Well, it turned into solid EUCOM Ukraine, and then we started having these Warsaw conferences every year, as well as a Germany conference. So long and short of it, we've grew the staff from 0 or 1 to 10 people.
And but was that the low point of ISOA, or was it near the low point? How
It
many
was
members did we have?
we had about 35 company members.
That was the low point then.
Right.
Yeah,
At low.
because I was there. I was one of the members, and
Yeah.
we were scratching our heads too in the company.
Yeah, they were thinking about just shutting the doors and
Yeah.
just closing up.
That's my memory.
But I think Gerald and the board said no, we're not the Titanic. We're not going down. We're going to stay. So I came on, and we got to the high point was over 200 companies a year or two ago. A little under 200 now with the drop off from this last year with all the efforts with Doge and